Okay, welcome to the Kingston Police Services Board meeting 2406, uh, uh, being held Thursday, May 16, 2024, here at police headquarters. Um, this time, I'm going to ask the chief to introduce a new member of the team, Marion Wright, who is general counsel.
Thank you, Chair Stearns. So yeah, it's our pleasure. Mary Ann's at the table here with us. Mary Ann started a couple weeks ago with us here at Kingston Police. A long history and litigation and law that includes time as a prosecutor in Alberta, also time at the Department of Justice and government, federal government levels, a number of years with the Northern Irish Police, and most recently the last 12 as general counsel with the Toronto Police. And sometimes they refer to people as unicorns, and I think we found one in Mary Ann that the right time, the right place, the right people, and they all come together. So certainly for us working collaboratively with our senior management team and certainly our organization to keep, as I call it, the aircraft carrier going the right direction. So it's a pleasure to have you here, Mary Ann. And I know I didn't do your history justice, but it's just the way you'd like to probably me to keep it.
Very good. Thank you. Next, I'm going to introduce Paula Laughlin. She's the Executive Director of the Victim Services of Kingston and Frontenac. She's going to provide a brief presentation regarding the services they provide to the community. Paula, when you speak, just push the button there. Yep.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today to talk about Victim Services of Kingston and Frontenac. We have been around for quite a long time in our community. We have had a partnership with the Kingston Police for over 30 years, starting as one of the pilot sites in Ontario for victim services back in 1987. So since that point in time, we have had this connection with Kingston Police and have appreciated the support that has been shown towards our services and the collaboration that our two services has had. To give an overview of our service, we do respond to all types of incidents. So it may be something that is crime related, but it could also be a type of tragic circumstance or a disaster that is happening within our community. And what we provide is support to any individual who is impacted by these circumstances. So it may be in the forms of emotional supports, practical assistance, connecting them with services that may be able to help them for long term as well. Um, we do operate directly out of Kingston Police headquarters. So our main offices are here, which means we are available to the Kingston Police at any point in time should a survivor or a person impacted by anything comes into the building. Officers or civilians can come and request the support of one of our victim support workers at any point in time. Now, saying that we do operate out of Kingston Police, it should be mentioned as well that we work within the community. So if an individual needs support in the community, we will also move from the office to where a survivor is to ensure that they're provided with supports where they're most comfortable, as long as it's within safe means. Our services are 24/7. We do run administrative hours. However, if there is an emergency and at the request of any emergency services, we are able to attend and provide assistance, whether it be on scene or over the phone, however a survivor would like to receive supports. So there's several programs that our service provides. We do the crisis assistance. We also have a youth and family support program, which is supporting youth who are impacted by any type of crime or tragic circumstance, but also supporting individuals who are impacted by youth crime and supporting victims at restorative justice tables. We have a mobile tracking system program for very high risk survivors. So a GPS device that works as an SOS if an individual is impacted by anything of severity, where they're at imminent risk of death or re-victimization. We have those panic alarms. The Victim Quick Response Program, we have an extensive anti-human trafficking program, and we also have a canine intervention program. Many of the Kingston Police members are quite familiar with our K9 intervention on Dog Haven. She tends to be a fun presence here in Kingston Police Headquarters. The Victim Quick Response Program is probably the most extensively used program or sought after program that we have currently, because of the extensive list of things that we're able to provide people who are impacted by violent crime. And so this can include any kind of basic needs. It could be safety accommodations, safety enhancements in terms of repairing any kind of doors, windows, doing lock changes. We also support the need for groceries, cell phone replacements, biohazard cleanup, homicide funerals, replacement of government documents, transportation to safety. And in terms of human trafficking, we're able to do some additional support, such as paying for the cost of residential treatment, tattoo removal if there has been branding, and some more extensive needs in terms of basic necessities as well. There is enhanced financial programming for that. So that is a very quick overview of our services. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have about what we do or how we provide the supports that we provide.
Board members, is there any questions that you'd like to ask? Christian, go ahead.
Just roughly, can you give us a sense of how many people you would deal with in a given year?
Yeah, so in a given year, we support the upwards of probably about 1,500 individuals. Now, these individuals may be impacted by more than one incident in saying that. So while 1,500 individuals are served by our organization, this doesn't speak to how long they are with our services or how many times they come back to our services for supports. And when it comes to things like gender-based violence and human trafficking, we do see those individuals coming back for additional services, depending on where their case is or their circumstances, or if there has been re-victimization.
The mayor is not here today, but since he's the vice chair of the board, if you had to pin down the one thing where often the transition, the edges are the challenges in these programs, because as long as people are in the program, they get looked after, but then when they transition out, there's often challenges in getting them the right services and help. So if there's one thing that you could fix in terms of that transition or in terms of where you would want the municipality or the province to invest in to make things sort of work better for people, in some cases have been subjected to some heinous crimes, what would that be?
Well, I'm actually really glad that you asked that question because we currently have an initiative happening called Safe with Millie. And it addresses one of the biggest challenges that we face as service providers and also fills a lot of gaps that we are noticing in survivors as well who are impacted by gender-based violence. And a lot of that comes down to communication and collaboration. So the new initiative that we've started is a technology which is going to support cross collaboration and communication with survivors and a mobile application for survivors that provides a lot of safety enhancements and ability to effectively communicate with service providers. And this is going to be a really fantastic foundation for service providers to come together to better support individuals as a wraparound care system or a one-stop shop system, but also for survivors to be able to navigate through some really complex systems, to know what services are available to them, to be able to effectively and safely communicate with those services, and to document incidents and keep evidence in a secure place as well. There's a lot of gaps and services that are going to be offered through there that are going to be achieved with Safe with Millie. And this is one of the places that we are looking for more support in terms of, because with any new initiative, there's financial investments that are required and time that has to be invested in these to ensure that we are effectively putting new programs and services in place.
One final short question.
Sure.
Since a disproportionate number of offenders are male, I'm guessing that a disproportionate number of your clients are women and also members of other underprivileged and underrepresented communities. Would this be a fair guess to hazard?
Yes, we definitely see a higher statistic in female survivors of gender-based violence, in saying that our services supports all individuals of any background, ethnicity, gender identity. And so we do see survivors of all of those different demographics, but statistically, we do see a very large percentage of the survivors coming to our doors being female.
Thanks. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. We talking about the ethnic communities or underrepresented communities. What kind of a mechanism the board has in place or your organization has in place to make sure, because this Kingston is fastest growing intercultural and interreligious communities, and many of those ethnic communities they have cultural background. They are hesitant to come forward if something happened to them. So do you have any program or anything in place or any mechanism that you can educate those newcomers and especially those communities to let them know that you are here or the services are available for them, so they don't have to hesitate, or educate them how to approach to the communities, to these services?
Thank you. Recently, we were successful in obtaining an Ontario Trillium Fund grant, and we have just started a new diversity program with Victim Services, which includes evaluating everything from an internal perspective, so our policies, procedures, and approaches, our programs as well, and some of the community connections that we have as an organization. And we're going to be working in the next 2 years to ensure that we have established very effective relationships with all of our marginalized communities. We're doing this in partnership with some of our Kingston immigration partners and other community services, which are supporting newcomers to Canada, to ensure that individuals are aware that supports are available, that we have effective and open communication with all of these different service organizations serving marginalized communities as well. And we're also evaluating how our programs and supports are provided, to see about translating more materials, that our services are more accessible to all individuals.
So last question then again, the how you may make sure that you connected with all interfaith and intercultural community organizations. So each group has their own community organization, and while we are working with the organization at large, like Keys and KIPS and all the other organizations, they are well connected with those community. But as an organization, how you make sure that you are connected with all those ethnic community and send them the brochure or education material where they can educate their community. It is a lot of barrier culturally, I'm telling you, especially with the community from Asia or Middle East, especially for the women. I just want to make sure that once we have program and we have the department who can help them, they should know how to get help.
Absolutely. And this is something that we're really leaning on partners to help educate us as an organization to ensure that we're meeting all of these needs and that this information is being put out into the community and accessible to all individuals, and something that we're going to be dedicating a great deal of time towards.
Very good. So just out of curiosity, Paula, how many people work with you on your team for 1,500 clients?
So currently, there is myself, and I have 4 full-time individuals. Some of those individuals are dedicated to working under grant programs. So those are temporary contracts, but we currently have 4 full-time individuals. And we have 2 full-time as well. And then we have a community outreach coordinator.
So for like people that want to volunteer to help?
Yes, we do have a volunteer aspect to our organization. That can happen in 2 different ways. We do have a frontline volunteer program where individuals who are interested in directly supporting survivors can come, go through a training process to be qualified to do on-scene work and work with survivors directly, with the support of our staff members with them. And we also have a volunteer program that is dedicated to community outreach, and fundraisers and those kinds of events and opportunities.
Very good. Okay. That was very educational. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Okay. Okay, next I'm gonna ask if there's a conflict of interest. No? Okay. Can I get an approval of the agenda? Gail, Christian, all in favor? Thank you. Can I get the adoption of the minutes from meetings 2405 held on April 18th, 2024 to be adopted? Thank you, Jimmy, Christian, all in favor? Thank you. And then for the communications, I would ask that we have a motion to adopt those communications. Thank you, Christian, Jimmy, all in favor? Thank you. And is there any questions from the board about any of the communications that we got from the Ministry of the Solicitor General, Canadian Association of Police Governance, the Ontario Association of Police Services Boards, and the Office of the Inspector General of Policing in Ontario that we received? No? Okay. Then I will put on. There's no delegations. And then information reports. I would ask that we have a motion to receive the information reports. Thank you, Gail. Christian, all in favor. And I would ask Chief Fraser if you'd like to speak to the first two reports.
Certainly. So, go. Certainly. So I know we had a presentation to the board from our Kingston Police Community Volunteers. And that would be report number one. And in that report, obviously outlining all the good work they do, the number of hours they commit. We can't speak highly enough of our community volunteers, and they do a tremendous job for our organization. And as I've always said, they are a hallmark of the volunteer program, and we're often copied. Organizations come to see how we do it. And I know Chris Phelan, who runs it there, does a tremendous job with his team. So outlined in that report are a number of events that they've taken place in, a number of things they've done. And as we can see, they're not just out there, you know, they do things like bicycle pickup for us, and they're helping our front line. They're doing radar speed surveys to assist our traffic department in which streets they need to spend more time on. Special events being their priority. But so certainly a number of events they did that took place. And I think the real big kicker too is the number of hours that were put in. When you look at, they break it down volunteer hours into 1579, and then person hours, because a lot of those events have multiple people at it, over 5,300 hours. So that would be our volunteer update and report on their activities last year.
Any questions from the board on that report?
The second report would be our property evidence audit report. So as we're required to do is report to the board in regards to our property room and evidence and our procedures in that. So we do a comprehensive kind of audit. And this year we did find that we were missing one piece of evidence, and they've been tracking back to see how did that one kind of get misplaced, it fortunately wasn't in relation to a court matter. However, we track back where is the common area that maybe a mistake could be made, and then we rectify that. So that's already really taken place. And then the other thing it does is identifies weaknesses that we may have in our property storage and evidence vault, or any areas such as we might need a camera to be located here, or for example, a fridge that's not operating properly, that will then budget and replace and repair and fix. So once again, another comprehensive job on that.
Go ahead, Christian.
Two questions. One is, you'll be familiar with an infamous case in Toronto that recently fell apart because two very expensive watches went amiss during the investigation. That we have processes in place that ensures that such a thing would not happen in Kingston if we had a similar investigation?
Yeah, so certainly. And, that's exactly why it's done that way. The manner in which it's seized at the scene, from the scene, all the way back to the station. And then once again, when it's logged in. And yeah, for sure, we know that those events do take place. And that's why we scrutinize it on a yearly basis as to ensuring that we're not lacking. And like I said, in this particular case, there is we believe it's a clerical error, but we're going to err on the side of caution that, it's more than that, but that's really what the audit is there to do, to capture those things. And of course, in our training, training our members on the proper processing of evidence, proper processing of property, money, firearms. It really, again, when we get right down to it, the majority of it can be evidence, sex assault evidence kits, for example. And so, yeah, having a robust system in place. And that's where our team goes in, who does the audit, to try and find that weakness and then go, okay, what do we have to do now to wrap around and ensure that that won't happen? So, for example, the idea of more cameras in this location, or, increasing the locker capacity at the front, things like that. So all of that being considered, because ultimately 100, the only acceptable number here is 100%.
And my understanding is probably inchoate, but I gather in Durham, their evidence stores burned it down. And that as a result, there are dozens of cases that went up in smoke. In part because I guess it was long known that they had an inadequate fire protection system, without impugning anybody here or something like that. Like, that's not my intent, but it's simply to ask that we have the proper systems in place, that our evidence stores would be unlikely to suffer a similar fate.
Yes, exactly. I know they did a good job when they built the facility, and also to piggyback on that is our Joint Health and Safety Committee that does monthly audits of our areas to ensure that we are compliant with fire safety, we're compliant with safety in general for our staff. So that's all a consideration built in when they're doing this audit, plus our monthly audits of with the Health and Safety Committee. But no, it's a very good point.
Go ahead, Jim.
It's just a comment. Thank you for asking those two great questions. And I hope, Chief, you are looking after to see we are not falling in the Durham category or other city. But the question is, do we have any program in place that we can look after or audit on monthly basis or every quarter instead yearly, so we can keep eyes on it?
Yeah, certainly. And I know that we obviously we have our two full-time staff members who are in property and stores, and that they have a kind of double duty there. Some of our equipment that we issue to our members, but also with property. As far as a monthly, I know that our team is working generally because I guess the big thing is there's a number of people who are involved in property, and that's why it's so important that it's tracked through our records management system. But we can certainly look at, I don't believe we're doing it on a monthly basis, but it may be something that we can drill down to do more frequently than on a yearly basis, for sure. The yearly basis, I guess, is to ensure that our systems are compliant and that we're following proper procedure. And if we need things repaired, that we do it. Certainly at any point, if there's a repair to be made, we don't wait for the year to do that repair. But there's a way that I'm sure we can do a more kind of a more frequent auditing system to ensure that we're being compliant, just by doing random spot checks, really, by picking certain case numbers and going in and following the chain of evidence to make sure it's all there. So we can do that.
Especially when you see that expensive watches coming in and the jewelry coming in.
There you go.
Yeah.
Chief, would you say, and just like an estimation, I'm not looking for an exact number, units in property storage, is it in the tens, hundreds, or thousands?
For the number of items in
Yeah.
there, thousands,
Okay.
thousands upon thousands,
Right.
thousands.
Okay.
There's a lot in there. We're almost at capacity in that room when we'll have to start figuring out where we're going to go from here.
Okay.
We keep that confidential.
I'm going to ask Scarlett if she can, that's Scarlett Ellis, Director of the Finance, if she could speak to the budget reports. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So I'll just give a high-level summary. This information report provides a financial status update of the general operating budget for the Kingston Police at March 31st, 2024. Exhibits to the report provide detailed and budget actual information and resulting variance by revenue and expense. with an overall net operating position which reflects 25.05% of the total budget at March, which is within the Q1 budgeted projections. So we're doing really well for the first quarter. Revenues and expenses are tracking as expected and reflect regular expected seasonal and timing variances normally experienced year to year. Notable revenue and expenditure variances are discussed in the report, so I will not do a repeat of that information, but instead focus on potential risks and cost pressures that might arise as we progress through the year. So budget pressures continue to be experienced in absentee costs related to WSIB, sick leave, as well as accommodated workers, including officers that are not frontline deployable. While the 2024 budget does incorporate estimated expenditures associated with policing unsanctioned gatherings, there wasn't a second homecoming weekend in 2023, which helped to keep those costs lower than previous years. We are hopeful this trend will continue in 2024, but this is an area of caution if that was to happen. The next thing is the 4 collective agreements expired at the end of December 2022. And although budget results include an estimated labor contract settlement amount, depending on where actual settlement amounts land, the budget could be impacted either positively or negatively. And then, as always, unforeseen circumstances, situations, or activities always present budgetary risk to police budget, such as spikes in crime rates or activities, protests, or unsanctioned gatherings. So staff continue to pursue grants and other funding opportunities to look for ways to reduce expenses, and as well as managing discretionary spending where possible to offset cost pressures. However, we know there are always unknown and unbudgeted requests that arise. Thank you for listening today, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Members, do you have any questions? Then I'll thank you for your time, Scarlett. I'll just repeat that the Kingston Police Services Board sponsored the 25th Annual Cops for Cancer Memorial Golf Tournament for $150, which is a new hole sponsor. Okay. And that the board authorized the secretary to effect payments to the Kingston Police Association for that sponsorship. Gail, first. Thank you, Christian. All in favor? Very good. It was a really good time last year. New business, the chair asks if there any business that we go ahead.
I do have one.
Okay.
My apologies for bringing it this late, but we just received it kind of for us last night. So as we've talked about before, working with the Downtown Business Improvement Association and providing a full-time beat officer, we've been working on that back and forth on an MOU. And we've since come up with wording that's acceptable both to the DBIA and us as the police service. We've ran a competition internally and have selected a candidate who will be on a 1-year pilot as a foot patrol downtown. And they're starting unofficially next week and officially the following week because we're going to start them on the bike course. So I have the MOU signed by the DBIA, and nobody's had a chance to review it as of yet. But if I could put it on as new business to get it to the board, and so you can have a viewing, and if you're in agreement, to sign off on it.
I have a question. So is it day or night?
So for the officers for their hours. So what we're going to be doing, it's a Tuesday to Saturday. Mainly they're working 10 to 6. So it'll be 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Tuesday to Saturday being their days of work. And then obviously if other events or things are adding them there, it's going to be, I think, fairly flexible in regards to in the event that there's a mutually agreed upon reason why we need to change shifts with the DBIA, but we're trying to keep that consistency with our officer down there who will be either on foot or on bike, and obviously dedicated there for the next 12 months.
Oh, sorry, Jimmy, go ahead.
Nope.
So I'm guessing the MOU is in part about what the goalposts are that you're looking to move, is my guess. And my second question is, this is not paid duty policing. This is entirely covered out of public funds. Is that correct?
Yes, so the MOU specifically outlines the goals and collaboration and how we're going to perform the function. And the position is being funded 50% by the DBIA and 50% by the city of Kingston. So it is a revenue to the police service per se. In return for the funding, we're dedicating an officer there.
How many officers we're going to deploy, or the total officers going to be on that job?
So the MOU is for one member. However, we already have an existing urban foot patrol member. So theoretically, that would, they work out of our core unit. So we'll have two that are essentially dedicated there with this individual 100% of the time. Oftentimes our core team will get called to different events. So this member will stay downtown. Another member may have to be pulled to go to a competing interest or something else. But for the majority of the time that they're there, we'll be able to have them both down there in the urban foot patrol. But in the event other duties take officers elsewhere, this officer will remain on the downtown beat and the other officer will go to the function required.
Is a possibility that we can have one or two volunteer all the time to patrol with them, or it's not necessary?
With the community volunteers, yeah, the community volunteers have a little different capacity, but they are downtown on a fairly frequent basis. I've been getting some pictures of them down, just popping in and introducing themselves to store owners and things like that. So on a little different capacity, but as we move forward with the new act and civilianization, we may have other ideas that we want to try and present that may be acceptable to the board. And of course, we have to work through the association with that as well.
Gail, go ahead.
Just a couple of quick questions. One, when the officer is on vacation, is it understood that that person won't be there for that period of time? And a second question is, would it be possible to hear back after the first quarter to see how that person is doing and the impact, as opposed to kind of waiting for the end of the project?
Yeah, certainly. So we've outlined that. That was one of the issues we had to address. And we think we have a good strategy if this member is away, that we will backfill in their place. So they're paying for an officer and they will get that officer. And we have a good strategy to do that backfill. And Constable Langille, who is the successful candidate, came with a number of ideas for down there. So I am sure we'll be getting monthly reporting. So what I'll probably be able to do is, as we can get data in, I'll make sure that I bring it to the meetings, because I think it's going to be a successful program for the community and for the police service itself. So I'll get as much data as I can for us.
Good, very good. All right. Then I'm going to ask to move in camera. Can I get a first or seconder? Christian, Gail, all in favor? Thank you. That was pretty quick, so maybe just a 5-minute break. Okay. Thank you.